everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're out here at my 966. I'm going to show y'all how a tractor clutch works, or a dry disc clutch works. I wish I had the flywheel here so I could do a little bit better demonstration, but there's not a lot of videos out there of actual clutch demonstration, and you can't see this when it's up in the tractor. I mean, the only view you got of it is through the inspection plate, but you can't see it very good from in there. So I'm gonna put this thing up in the tractor and let it show y'all how it works and why you should never ever ride the clutch pedal unless you're backing up or hooking up to equipment, or unless you absolutely have to. So yeah, I'm gonna show it to you. Okay, the first thing is I'm gonna show y'all what all this does. This is the clutch disc, and that's the pressure plate. These are the old parts that come out of the tractor. I don't have the new stuff here yet. It's going to get here in the next few days, and we'll put it back together then. But this IPTO drive gear is brand new. I've got it just stuck in there just for this demonstration. That's why the cover's not on it. But yeah. Anyway, the flywheel would be mounted up here on the back of the engine. The clutch sits in the flywheel. Now, this disc, this ceramic clutch disc, fits just into the, because the inside of the flywheel is this size right here. So this disc just fits in the inside of it. And the pressure plate, using these bolt holes, bolts onto the flywheel. So this disc is in between the flywheel and the pressure plate. Now, this disc, which rides right here on that shaft, that's the transmission shaft, the end of the torque amplifier. The flywheel, when the tractor's rolled back together, is pushed up in here, up against these discs. Now, I don't have the release bearing or any of that up in there, but this is what the throwout bearing looks like right here. Here's some of the linkages and stuff. I want to show you this too. This sucker's heavy. This is the pressure plate. Now this one's busted out on the center, but the pressure plate drives that shaft right there, because this will be back up in here, and it drives that IPTO shaft and gives you hydraulics. So when it's busted out like this, you lose your hydraulic function. That's why we split the tractor to fix that problem. But anyway, now the release bearing right here would sit inside of this fork like this right here. And the release fork shaft, which is that shaft right there that's sticking out, has two Woodruff keys in it. Those right there. And it slides through there. And when you push the clutch pedal down, it moves that linkage on the end of the shaft and twists the shaft and pushes this bearing out like that. So when your foot's off the clutch pedal, that bearing's like this. When you push the clutch in, it pushes that bearing out. Not quite like that, but you get the point. It pushes that bearing out against these fingers. Well, I ain't strong enough to do this, but it would push those fingers down and take the pressure off of the clutch disc. And remind you, the flywheel would be right here, and the smooth piece on the pressure plate would be right here. So it's pinched between the pressure plate and the flywheel. Now when you push the clutch pedal in, over here, you push the clutch pedal, it goes down, it pushes that rod That rod pushes that shaft. The shaft is in here like that. It twists, except it goes all the way through, and it pushes that release bearing out on these fingers. And when those fingers are pushed in, as long as you're holding in the clutch pedal, this thing is spinning like this right here. It's spinning whatever speed the engine is. When you push the clutch in, it stops spinning because it opens up a gap between, well, it opens up a gap between the pressure plate and the back of the disc. So there's no friction on it anymore and it stops spinning. But the flywheel's still turning right here. So then when the transmission stops spinning, you can shift your gears or whatever range you want, whatever. And when you let off the clutch, the pressure plate, the back of the pressure plate, starts pushing on the back of these pads right here. And then, let me remind you, the flywheel and the pressure plate are turning around these discs. And when the pressure plate, when you let off the clutch pedal, the pressure plate tightens up on this, and it pinches it between the flywheel and the pressure plate, and it starts spinning again. You push the clutch in, it opens a gap up right there, and it stops spinning. Now, when you got the clutch pedal halfway pressed down, or you don't have it all the way pressed down and it's not all the way back up, when you're holding it like this, that's what it's called, riding the clutch. So that release bearing is pushing these fingers not down all the way to completely disengage it. It's not engaged and it's not disengaged. It's halfway between. So what the outcome of that is that this disc is spinning slower than the speed of the flywheel and the pressure plate. So this disc is slipping on the flywheel and the pressure plate, and that's what burns these pads up. If it's fully engaged, it'll be pinched up tight between the flywheel and the pressure plate, and it'll be spinning the same speed that they are. When it's fully disengaged, it's not touching at all right there, and it's not moving. When it's halfway in between, them things are in here chewing on these pads, and it's trying to spin, but then it's trying not to spin, and it's just chewing these pads up. This is why you don't ride the clutch in a tractor, especially a dry disc clutch, because it'll burn it out. So that's why you don't ever ride it, because when you're riding the clutch pedal and it's not disengaged and it's not engaged, it's slipping a little bit and it's burning these pads up. Now you have to ride it like backing up to equipment and stuff like that. But when you're not doing that, I try not to ride it any whatsoever, but sometimes you just have to, and I understand that. And I mean, if you want one of these tractors and you like riding the clutch, go ahead. You're just going to be putting the clutch in it a lot sooner. And that's a lot of work and money to put a clutch in a tractor. So I just want to show y'all how this clutch works, and I'm gonna put some of that stuff back in there to give y'all a better view of how it works. So let me do that. Okay, I don't have all this put back together all the way, but this is what the release bearing does in here. I got the IPTO shaft just sitting up in here, and I got the throwout bearing sleeve housing, I guess, stuck back up in here. And I got the release fork in here, and I got the release fork shaft in here. But I don't have the Woodruff keys in it. I just want to show you how the release bearing works. So imagine this, with those splines, is sitting right here. And them fingers are sitting about right here. They're not touching the bearing, but they're close to it. Now, when you push the clutch in, that bearing comes out like that. And when that bearing makes contact with these bolts, it starts spinning. This bearing is every bit but shot, so we're going to have to be replaced, but that's why it's spinning so slow. So when you're riding the clutch, it's pushed in about halfway right there. And we already talked about riding the clutch, but that's just where it is. And when you have it fully disengaged, it's all the way up here, you know, pushing the levers in all the way to fully disengage it. And when it's engaged, the bearing's back there, not touching the fingers. So that's how that works. Now I'm going to get you a view of all that put up in there. Okay, here's the view of it, all in the tractor. Here's the pressure plate back here, the release bearing stuff's back there. Here's the disc. Now, I don't have these pushed all the way back up in there because everything's just sitting there. So, that disc is spinning like this right here. And remember now, the pressure plate is spinning too, so they're spinning together when it's engaged. The pressure plate pushes this disc up against the flywheel and makes it turn. When you disengage the clutch, the disc stops spinning and the pressure plate and the flywheel is spinning because the flywheel is bolted to the pressure plate right here. When you're riding the clutch, it wants to turn with both of it, but it's not. And you see the way that pressure plate's rubbing up against them pads like that? It wants to turn with it, so it'll probably be in here doing something like this, trying to spin, but there's not enough friction up against it. And when them things is rubbing up against each other like that, but it's halfway trying to spin, but it's not spinning together, it's burning them pads up. So you don't have to take my advice or anything like that. There's a lot of people out there that I see on YouTube that ride the crap out of that clutch pedal, and that ain't doing nothing but burning these pads up. And when you wear these pads down to the rivets, then it's going to start slipping. And most of the time, before they wear down to the rivets, the pressure plate and the flywheel will be wore in, and the springs on the back of this will be hitting inside the pressure plate, and it won't release when you wear these pads down all the way and the pressure plate's wore. So I hope I gave y'all a good idea of how a traction clutch works in a tractor. This is the traction clutch, which drives the transmission, and the pressure plate also drives the IPTO shaft, which controls the hydraulic pump and all that. But PTO, this isn't the PTO clutch, this is the traction clutch. But hope I gave y'all an idea how it works. I just thought I'd come out here and make a video of this. I mean, the tractor's tore apart. I ain't doing nothing with it right now. I can't do nothing else with it till parts get here, so I figured I'd show y'all how a clutch works in a tractor, because there ain't many other videos out there of this. So I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be putting this tractor back together shortly, and the teardown video of this tractor is coming at the end of this week. So appreciate y'all watching, and now feel free to correct me on how any of that works in the comments or whatever, but that's my idea of how that works. I was trying to give a lay person's view of how that works. So maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next one.